Admiral Kyung Park stood on the observation deck of the Taeguk's Fury and watched the strange sun rise over an impossible landscape. The ship had been in this place for 200 years now, though the people inside had lived much longer. Time moved differently here. She was the granddaughter of Hana Park, the engineer who had built the quantum drive. Kyung had never seen Earth or the normal galaxy. This strange dimension was the only home she had ever known. "Admiral," said Commander Seok Yoon as he walked up beside her, "the morning council is ready for you." Kyung nodded but didn't turn away from the window. Outside, floating cities drifted through the purple sky. The beings who lived in them were older than stars. They called themselves the architects, and they had been building civilizations when the universe was young. "Do you ever wonder what the old galaxy looks like now?" she asked. "Every day," Seok replied. "But we can't go back. The quantum drive burned out completely after it brought us here. Master Engineer Bin Jang says it would take a miracle to fix it." Kyung smiled. "Maybe we can make our own miracle." They walked through the corridors of the ship toward the council chambers. The Taeguk's Fury looked very different now than it had 2 centuries ago. The humans had rebuilt it using both their own technology and knowledge they had learned from the architects. The walls were made of living metal that could repair itself. The floors were covered with plants that cleaned the air and provided food. Rooms could change size and shape depending on what was needed. The ship had grown from 2 kilometers to almost 5 kilometers long. In the council chambers, the leaders of the human community were waiting. There were only 50,000 humans when they first arrived, but now there were over 100,000. Children born in this dimension grew up stronger and smarter than their parents. Dr. Yuna Han stood up as Kyung entered. She was tall and thin, with silver hair that seemed to glow slightly. "Admiral, we've made another breakthrough with the consciousness research." "Tell me," Kyung said as she sat down. "We've learned how to transfer memories and skills from one person to another. Not just knowledge, but actual experience. A pilot who has never flown can gain the skills of someone who has been flying for decades." Master Engineer Bin Jang leaned forward. "More than that. We figured out how to back up human consciousness completely. If someone dies, we can bring them back with all their memories intact." Kyung felt a chill run down her spine. "Are you talking about immortality?" "In a way," Dr. Yuna said. "The architects showed us how consciousness is just a pattern of energy. If you understand the pattern, you can recreate it." Navigator Gina Ryu spoke up from the other side of the table. "The architects have been doing this for millions of years. That's why they're so ancient. They don't really die, they just transfer to new bodies when their old ones wear out." "But are they still the same people?" Kyung asked. "Or just copies with the same memories?" "Does it matter?" Seok asked. "If someone has all your memories and experiences, if they think and feel exactly like you, what's the difference?" It was a question that had no easy answer. The humans had been debating it for months as they learned more about architect technology. "There's something else," Bin said quietly. "The architects want to teach us how to manipulate space and time directly. Not with machines, but with our minds. Is that possible?" Dr. Yuna nodded. "We've seen them do it. They can fold space to move instantly across vast distances. They can slow down time or speed it up. They can even exist in multiple dimensions at once." "Why would they teach us these things?" Kyung asked. "Because they're lonely," Gina said. "They've been alone in this dimension for so long that they've almost forgotten what it's like to have equals. They think humans might be able to become like them. And what do we think?" The council was quiet for a long moment. These were decisions that would change humanity forever. If they accepted the architect's teachings, they would become something new. Something more than human, but maybe also something less. "I think," Seok said slowly, "that we don't have much choice. We're trapped here. The only way to survive is to adapt." "Adaptation," Kyung repeated. "That's what humans have always been good at." Over the next several months, volunteers began working directly with the architects. The process was difficult and sometimes dangerous. The human mind wasn't naturally designed to handle the kind of power the architects possessed. Some volunteers couldn't handle the training and had to stop. But others succeeded beyond anyone's expectations. They learned to see into other dimensions. They learned to touch the fundamental forces that held reality together. Commander Seok Yoon was one of the first to master dimensional sight. He could see through walls across vast distances, even into the past and future to some degree. Dr. Yuna Han learned to manipulate matter at the atomic level, literally rebuilding objects with her thoughts. The children adapted even faster than the adults. Young humans born in this dimension seemed to have a natural understanding of the architect's abilities. They could do things that took adults years to learn, but the most amazing changes happened to the ship itself. Master Engineer Bin Jiang worked with the architects to integrate their technology directly into the Taeguk's Fury. The ship became a living thing, aware and intelligent. "It's not just a ship anymore," Bin explained to Kyung one day. "It's like a giant organism. It can think and feel and make decisions. In some ways, it's become one of us." Kyung could feel it too. When she walked through the corridors, she sensed the ship's presence. It was friendly and protective, like a parent watching over children. "Can it defend itself?" she asked. "Better than any weapon we ever built," Bin said with a grin. "The ship can exist in multiple dimensions at once. It can phase in and out of reality. Enemy weapons would pass right through it. And our weapons? We don't need traditional weapons anymore. The ship can manipulate gravity, electromagnetic fields, even the strong nuclear force. It could tear apart an enemy vessel by reorganizing its atoms." As the years passed, more humans mastered the architect abilities. They learned to work together in ways that would have been impossible before. Multiple people could share the same consciousness temporarily, combining their knowledge and skills. They also learned to explore the strange dimension they lived in. There were wonders here that defied description. Cities that existed in 17 dimensions at once. Oceans of pure energy where thoughts became real. Mountains that were actually sleeping gods from the beginning of time. But through it all, the humans remembered who they were. They kept their culture, their languages, their love for each other. The architects were amazed by this. Most species that gained their powers forgot their origins and became cold and distant. "You are unusual," one of the architects told Kyung during a meeting. The being looked like a constantly shifting pattern of light and shadow. "Most races lose their emotional connections when they transcend their physical limitations. Maybe that's because they're trying to become something else," Kyung replied. "We're just trying to become better versions of ourselves." As the 200th year approached, navigator Gina Ryu made an important discovery. She had been studying the quantum drive that brought them to this dimension, trying to understand how it worked. "I think I can fix it," she announced to the council. "More than that, I think I can improve it. We could not only return to our home dimension, we could travel anywhere in space and time." "Are you sure?" Kyung asked. "The architects have been helping me understand the mathematics. The original drive was crude, like using a hammer to perform surgery. But with what we've learned, we could build something precise and controlled." Commander Seok Yoon looked concerned. "Do we want to go back? The galaxy we left was at war. The Velthek might still be out there." "Then maybe it's time to end that war," Kyung said firmly. "We're not the same humans who fled in desperation 200 years ago. We've become something new, something powerful. Powerful enough to face an entire galaxy?" Kyung looked around the council chambers at her friends and advisors. These people had spent lifetimes learning abilities that would seem like magic to the rest of the galaxy. They had become something beyond normal human understanding, but they were still human at heart. "Yes," she said, "I think we are." The massive warship Taeguk's Fury shook violently as enemy fire hit its shields. Admiral Minho Kim gripped his command chair as sparks flew from damaged control panels around the bridge. The ship was huge, over 2 kilometers long, but it felt small against the enemy fleet that surrounded them. "How many ships are out there?" Minho asked his tactical officer. 300 Velthek destroyers, sir. Maybe more coming through the jump gates." Minho closed his eyes for a moment. 300 ships against 1. The odds were impossible, but this was humanity's last stand. Earth was gone. The colonies were destroyed. The 50,000 people on his ship were all that remained of the human race. Captain Jiho Lee walked up to Minho's chair. His uniform was torn and there was blood on his face from an earlier battle. "Sir, we can't win this fight. The shields are failing and we're almost out of missiles." "I know," Minho said quietly. He looked at the main screen where the Velthek ships moved closer like hungry wolves. The alien vessels were dark and twisted, like metal that had been melted and reformed into something evil. "But we have to try. The Velthek had appeared in human space 5 years ago. No one knew where they came from or what they wanted. They just attacked every human world they found. Their technology was better than anything humans had. Their ships were faster and their weapons hit harder." Chief Engineer Hannah Park's voice came through the speakers. "Admiral, the quantum drive is ready for testing." Minho had almost forgotten about Hannah's secret project. She'd been working on something in the lower decks for months using parts from destroyed human ships. She called it a quantum drive, but she wasn't sure what it would do. "Will it get us out of here?" Mino asked. "I don't know, sir. The math says it should open a hole in space. Where that hole leads, I can't tell you." Another blast hit the ship. The lights went out for a few seconds before the backup power kicked in. Through the main screen, Minho could see the Veltec ships getting closer. In a few minutes, they would be close enough to board the Taeguk's Fury. "Sir," said Lieutenant Daeho Nam from the pilot station, "we've got incoming fighters. Looks like they want to capture us alive." Minho thought about the stories from other battles. The Veltec didn't just kill humans. They took prisoners and did terrible things to them. Some said they studied human biology. Others said they just enjoyed causing pain. "Hana," Minho said into his communicator, "start up your quantum drive." "Sir, I need to warn you. This technology is completely untested. We might end up inside a star. We might be torn apart at the atomic level. We might do it." Dr. Suman Choi looked up from her medical station. "Admiral, we have children on this ship. Families. Are we really going to risk everything on an untested machine?" Minho looked around the bridge at his crew. These people had followed him through 5 years of war. They had watched their friends die and their worlds burn. Now they were asking him to make one more impossible choice. "The Valtech will kill us all anyway," he said. "At least this way we have a chance." Deep in the ship's engine room, Hana Park worked frantically at her controls. The quantum drive was a mess of cables and strange crystals she had found in the ruins of an ancient alien ship. She had spent months trying to understand how it worked. The math was beautiful but terrifying. "Quantum field building," she reported. "Power at 50%. On the bridge, Minho watched the Veltec fighters get closer. He could see the alien pilots through their cockpit windows. They looked like insects, but wrong somehow. Too many eyes. Too many teeth. "Jiho, can you buy us more time?" Captain Lee nodded and moved to the weapons station. "All remaining fighters launch now. Give them everything you've got." The Taeguk's Fury released its last dozen fighter ships. Lieutenant Daeho Nam led them in a desperate charge against the enemy. The small human fighters were no match for the Veltec ships, but they fought anyway. One by one, the human fighters exploded in bright flashes. "Power at 70%, Hana reported. "I'm seeing some weird readings here. Space itself is starting to bend around the drive." Through the main screen, Minho could see something strange happening. The stars were moving, twisting into spiral patterns. Reality itself seemed to be breaking apart around their ship. "Admiral," shouted the tactical officer. "The Veltec ships are pulling back. They look scared." For the first time in 5 years, Minho saw fear in alien eyes. The insect-like creatures in their dark ships were backing away from the Taeguk's Fury. Whatever Hana's machine was doing, it was making even the Veltec nervous. "Power at 90%, Hana said. Her voice was shaking now. "Sir, I'm seeing readings I don't understand. It's like we're about to punch a hole through the universe itself." The ship shook harder now, but not from enemy fire. The quantum drive was pulling energy from somewhere else, somewhere beyond normal space. The lights on the bridge flickered between normal white and a strange purple color that hurt to look at. "All hands, prepare for quantum jump," Minho announced over the ship's speakers. "Hold on to something." Captain Jiho Lee looked at the main screen where space was tearing apart like wet paper. "Sir, what if we can't get back?" "Then we'll find a new home," Minho said. "Somewhere the Valtech can't follow." "Power at 100%, Hana reported. "Quantum field stable. Admiral, I need your order." Minho took one last look at the Valtech fleet. 300 ships filled with creatures that wanted to destroy humanity. Behind them were more ships, and behind those were the dead worlds where humans used to live. "Jump," he said. The universe exploded into light. The Taeguk's Fury stretched like rubber, becoming impossibly long and thin. Every person on the ship felt themselves being pulled in different directions at once. Reality twisted and folded until nothing made sense anymore. Then suddenly everything was quiet. The ship floated alone in space that looked wrong. The stars were different colors. Some were purple, some were green. In the distance, huge structures floated that were too big to be natural but too strange to be built by any known race. "Where are we?" whispered Dr. Suman Choi. Minho looked at the impossible view and smiled for the first time in years. "Somewhere safe," he said. "Somewhere new." Behind them, the hole in space sealed shut. The Valtech fleet was gone. Earth was gone. Everything they had known was gone, but humanity survived. The galaxy had changed in terrible ways during the 200 years since humanity vanished. Captain Taman O stood on the bridge of the Teguk's Fury and watched the scanner reports come in. What he saw made his heart heavy. 12 star systems completely strip-mined, reported Tactical Officer Rena Song. The planets are just empty rocks now. All the life is gone. Population readings? Asked Admiral Kyung Park. Over 30 billion beings in slave camps across this sector alone, said Dr. Hyun Kwak, the ship's expert on alien species. Multiple species. They're being worked to death. Admiral Kyung Park felt anger building inside her. The galaxy they had left was at war, but it still had hope. Now it looked like a graveyard, where the living were treated worse than the dead. After the Vilethek Empire collapsed from fighting each other, new powers had taken control. They called themselves the Galactic Hegemony, but they were worse than the Vilethek had ever been. Where the insect-like aliens had simply destroyed human worlds, the hegemony enslaved entire species. The Nexus Collective led the hegemony. They were creatures that had replaced most of their bodies with machines. They saw organic life as inefficient and tried to turn every living being into part of their computer network. Working with them were the Void Lords, beings made of pure energy who fed on suffering. They kept billions of creatures alive just to harvest their pain and fear. "Sir," said Navigator Gina Ryu, "we're receiving communications from across the galaxy. Word of our return is spreading fast." "What kind of communications?" Kyung asked. "Mostly from slave populations. They think we're here to save them." Kyung closed her eyes for a moment. When they left this galaxy, humans were the ones running and hiding. Now they were being seen as saviors by species they had never met. "Are we?" she asked quietly. "Are we what, Admiral?" asked Captain Taman O. "Here to save them." The bridge was quiet for a moment. Everyone knew this was the most important question they would ever face. They had the power to reshape the galaxy, but should they? "Admiral," said Major Wook Shin from the security station, "we're detecting a large fleet moving toward our position. Looks like the hegemony wants to meet us." On the main screen, over 1,000 enemy ships appeared. They came from different species, but all bore the mark of the hegemony. Dark metal hulls with strange symbols that hurt to look at. Ships designed to cause fear as much as destruction. "How many?" Kyung asked. 1,047 vessels, Rena reported, including 12 super dreadnoughts. "Each one is larger than we are," Captain Taman O looked at the enemy fleet and felt no fear. The humans had learned much during their exile. "Admiral, should we try to communicate with them?" "Open a channel," Kyung ordered. The main screen flickered and showed the bridge of the lead enemy ship. The creature in command was barely recognizable as once being alive. Most of its body had been replaced with cybernetic parts. Cables ran from its skull to computers around the bridge. "Unknown vessel," the thing said in a voice like grinding metal. "You have entered hegemony space without permission. Surrender immediately or be destroyed." "I am Admiral Kyung Park of the human vessel Teguk's Fury," she replied calmly. "We have returned to our home galaxy." The cybernetic being's remaining organic eye widened slightly. "Impossible. Humans are extinct. The records show they were eliminated over 2 centuries ago. The records are wrong. Even if you are human, you are just one ship. We have over 1,000 vessels. Surrender now and your death will be quick." Admiral Kyung Park looked around her bridge at her crew. These people had spent lifetimes learning to manipulate reality itself. They could exist in multiple dimensions, control matter at the atomic level, and bend space and time to their will. "No," she said simply. "Then you will die," the cybernetic commander snarled. "All ships, open fire!" The hegemony fleet unleashed everything they had. Energy beams that could melt planets. Missiles that could crack moons. Weapons designed to destroy entire civilizations. All of the attacks passed harmlessly through the Teguk's Fury. The human ship had phased slightly out of normal space. The enemy weapons were hitting where the ship appeared to be, not where it actually was. To outside observers, it looked like the Teguk's Fury was made of ghosts. "Impossible," the enemy commander shouted. "Nothing can survive that much firepower." "You're thinking in old terms," Admiral Kyung Park said calmly. "We've learned new rules." She nodded to Tactical Officer Rena Song. "Show them what we can do." The Teguk's Fury didn't have traditional weapons anymore. Instead, it reached out with invisible forces and touched the atomic structure of the nearest enemy ship. The vessel simply came apart, its molecules reorganizing into a cloud of harmless gas. Another enemy ship tried to ram them. The Teguk's fury shifted dimensions slightly, and the attacking vessel passed through them like they weren't there. As it emerged from the other side, its hull had been turned inside out. The crew compartments were now on the outside, exposed to vacuum. "What are you?" the enemy commander whispered. "We're what humans became when you tried to destroy us," Kyung replied. The battle continued, but it wasn't really a battle. It was more like a demonstration. The humans showed that conventional warfare was meaningless against beings who could manipulate the fundamental forces of reality. Ships that fired on them found their weapons turned against themselves. Vessels that tried to escape discovered they were trapped in loops of twisted spacetime. The lucky ones were simply disintegrated quickly. "Enough," the cybernetic commander screamed.
"What do you want?"
"We want this galaxy to be free," Admiral Kyung Park said. "We want the slave camps closed and the captured populations released. We want the strip mining to stop and the dead worlds to heal. And if we refuse," Kyung gestured, and the enemy commander's ship began to change. Its dark metal hull shifted to bright silver. The painful symbols disappeared, replaced by images of growing flowers. Even the air inside became cleaner and easier to breathe. "We don't need your permission," she said. Across the galaxy, other ships detected the battle and began moving toward the fight. The hegemony was calling in reinforcements from every sector. Soon there would be 10,000 ships surrounding the humans. "Sir," said Dr. Hyan Kwak, "we're receiving more communications from the slave populations. They're rising up. Rebellions are starting on dozens of worlds. They see us as a symbol," Major Wuxin observed. "Hope returning to the galaxy." "That's a lot of responsibility," Captain Tamino said quietly. Admiral Kyung Park nodded. It was one thing to have power. It was another thing to use it wisely. The humans could reshape the galaxy by force, but that would make them no better than the hegemony. "Admiral," Navigator Gina Ryu reported, "I'm detecting something strange. There are patterns in spacetime around this entire region. It's like someone has been preparing for our return." "What kind of patterns?" "Quantum signatures that match our technology. But they're old, very old. I think the architects have been here." Kyung felt a chill run down her spine. The architects rarely left their dimension. If they had been active in this galaxy, it meant something important was about to happen. "Admiral," Rina Song called out, "massive fleet incoming. Over 9,000 additional ships. They'll be here in 6 hours. Can we handle that many?" "Easily," Rina replied. "But the real question is, what do we do after we win?" That was indeed the real question. The humans had returned with godlike power, but power without wisdom was just another form of tyranny. They had learned much during their exile, but the most important lesson was that strength should be used to lift others up, not tear them down. "We give them a choice," Admiral Kyung Park said finally. "Join us in building something better, or face the consequences of continuing the old ways. And if they choose to fight?" Kyung looked at the screen showing the destroyed hegemony ships drifting in space. Their crews were still alive, trapped in vessels that no longer worked as weapons of war. "Then we show them that there are worse things than death," she said. "We show them what it means to live without hope." The Teguk's fury began moving toward the center of the galaxy, where the hegemony's capital ships waited. Behind them, the quantum signatures left by the architects began to pulse with soft light. The real battle was just beginning. Lieutenant Mirai Kim stood in the cargo bay of the Teguk's fury and watched as freed slaves from 12 different species stepped aboard their ship. The beings were thin and weak, their eyes filled with a mixture of hope and fear. "It's okay," she said gently to a group of blue-skinned creatures who cowered when they saw her. "You're safe now. No one will hurt you here." One of the aliens, barely more than a child, reached out tentatively to touch her hand. When nothing bad happened, the young being smiled for the first time in years. "Can you really keep us safe?" asked an older alien with 4 arms and scales like a fish. "The hegemony has ships everywhere. They will come for us." "Let them come," Mirai said with confidence she truly felt. "They can't hurt you anymore." It had been 3 weeks since the humans announced their return to the galaxy. In that time, slave camps on 47 worlds had been liberated. But each rescue brought new questions that Admiral Kyung Park and her crew struggled to answer. Dr. Junho Bei walked up to Mirai with a data pad in his hands. He looked troubled. "Lieutenant, we have a problem." "What is it?" "I've been studying the freed populations. Several species have evolved specifically to fill the roles humans used to have in the galaxy. Look at this, he showed her genetic scans on his device. These red-skinned beings called the Kith developed advanced engineering skills after humans disappeared. The fish-like Null became expert pilots and navigators. The rock people called Vorn took over human military tactics. Mireille frowned. That's good, isn't it? They survived by adapting. But what happens now that we're back? Do we take those roles back from them? Do we force them to change again? It was a question that had been troubling many of the humans. They had returned expecting to find the galaxy as they left it, but 200 years had changed everything. Species that were once primitive had developed new abilities. Ecosystems had shifted to fill the gaps left by missing humans. We don't force anything, Mireille said firmly. We work together. Dr. Junho Bai nodded, but he still looked worried. The Admiral wants to see you on the bridge. Something about the hegemony's response to our liberation efforts. Mireille made her way through the ship's corridors. The Tegok's fury was constantly changing now, growing new sections to house the freed slaves. The ship's living metal created comfortable spaces for each species, with the right gravity, atmosphere, and temperature. On the bridge, Admiral Kyung Park stood before a massive display showing the galaxy. Red dots marked hegemony strongholds. Blue dots showed liberated worlds. Green dots indicated planets where rebellions were starting. Admiral, Mireille said as she approached. Lieutenant, I need your opinion on something. Kyung gestured to the display. Fleet Captain Yoonji Lim thinks we should focus on peaceful liberation. Help the rebellions, provide supplies and medical aid, but let the freed peoples fight their own battles. And War Commander Dongyun Che? Mireille asked, though she could guess. He wants to use our full power, and the hegemony quickly and completely. Reshape the galaxy by force if necessary. Mireille studied the display. Each red dot represented billions of enslaved beings. Each day they waited meant more suffering, more death. But rushing in with overwhelming force might create as many problems as it solved. What do you think, sir? Admiral Kyung Park was quiet for a moment. I think both of them are right and both of them are wrong. We have the power to end this war in a day, but should we? Sir? Called out Navigator Gina Ryu from her station. I'm detecting massive fleet movements. The hegemony is gathering everything they have at the galactic core. Over 10,000 ships. All of them? Asked Captain Tamino. Every vessel they can move. They're abandoning outer territories and concentrating everything in one place. Counselor Nari Jung stepped forward. She was one of the ship's philosophers, someone who helped the crew think through difficult moral questions. Admiral, this might be our chance to end the war with minimal casualties. How? If all their forces are in one place, we could disable them all at once. No running battles across multiple star systems. No drawn-out campaigns that would cause more suffering. Or it could be a trap. War Commander Donghyun Chai said as he joined the group. 10,000 ships in one location means they're planning something. Maybe they've developed new weapons. Fleet Captain Yoonji Lim arrived at the same time, having heard the news. We should be careful. Just because we've won every battle so far doesn't mean we're invincible. Are we? Mireille asked. Invincible, I mean. It was a question everyone had been wondering, but no one wanted to ask directly. The humans had gained incredible abilities during their exile, but they were still human. They could still make mistakes. I don't think any being is truly invincible, Admiral Kyung Park said thoughtfully. But we are certainly more powerful than anything the galaxy has seen before. Sir, interrupted Dr. Hyan Kwok from the science station. I'm reading something strange from the galactic core. Energy patterns I don't recognize. Show me. The main display changed to show readings from long-range sensors. Strange waves of energy were pulsing out from the center of the galaxy like ripples in a pond. What could cause that? Taemin asked. I'm not sure, Dr. Hyun Kwok replied, but the energy signature is similar to what we use for dimensional manipulation. Someone else knows how to bend space and time. A chill ran through the bridge crew. The humans had assumed they were the only ones who possessed architect technology. If the hegemony had learned similar abilities, this war might not be as easy as they thought. Could the architects have taught them? Mireille asked. Navigator Gina Ryu shook her head. The architects don't leave their dimension except in extreme circumstances. And they wouldn't teach beings who use power to cause suffering. Then who? Maybe, said Counselor Nari Jung quietly. We're not the only species that was forced to adapt to survive. The implications of that statement hung in the air. What if other races had been pushed to the edge of extinction and found their own ways to transcend normal limitations? What if the galaxy was full of beings with godlike powers all fighting for control? Admiral, called out Major Wook Shin from the security station. We're receiving a communication from the Galactic Core. It's strange. Put it through. The main screen flickered and showed something that made everyone gasp. The being on the screen looked human, but wrong somehow. Its skin was pale as starlight and its eyes were completely black. When it spoke, its voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Greetings, children of Earth," it said. "I am Overlord Kazan of the Void Lords. We have been waiting for your return." "Waiting?" Admiral Kyung Park asked. "You think you are the only ones who learned to transcend physical limitations? We have been exploring the spaces between dimensions for 1,000 years. We have become something far beyond what you imagine." "You're behind the hegemony?" The Void Lord smiled, showing teeth like black diamonds. "We are the hegemony. The Cybernetic Nexus Collective serves us. The other species work for us. We have turned this galaxy into a machine for generating the energy we need." "What kind of energy?" "Suffering," the creature said simply. "Pain and fear are the most potent forces in the universe. We harvest them from billions of beings and use them to fuel our transcendence." Admiral Kyung Park felt sick. "You're torturing entire civilizations just to gain power? Power is the only thing that matters. You should understand this. You have gained great abilities during your exile. Join us and we will teach you to become even more powerful. By causing suffering, by embracing reality, the strong dominate the weak. That is the way of the universe." "No," Admiral Kyung Park said firmly. "That's not who we are." The Void Lord's expression turned cold. "Then you will be destroyed. We have prepared for your return. 10,000 ships equipped with dimensional weaponry await you at the Galactic Core. Come and we will show you what real power looks like." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. "Sir," War Commander Donghyun Chai said grimly, "I don't think we have a choice anymore. If they have dimensional weapons, waiting will only give them time to become stronger." Fleet Captain Yoonji Lim nodded reluctantly. "Much as I hate to admit it, Donghyun is right. We need to end this quickly." Admiral Kyung Park looked around her bridge at the faces of her crew. These people had followed her through impossible battles and unimaginable changes. Now she was asking them to face an enemy that might be as powerful as they were. "Set course for the Galactic Core," she ordered. "It's time to finish this." As the Taeguk's Fury began moving toward the center of the galaxy, Lieutenant Mirai Kim returned to the cargo bay where the freed slaves waited. She looked at their hopeful faces and made a silent promise. Whatever happened in the coming battle, these beings would never be slaves again. Admiral Sunho An stood in the command center of the Taeguk's Fury and watched as reality bent around them. The ship wasn't just moving through space anymore. It was moving through multiple dimensions at once, existing in 17 different layers of reality, simultaneously. "Fleet. Status report," he called out. "All human. Consciousness nodes are connected," reported Commander Yeji. "Moon. We have perfect coordination across all dimensional phases." The humans had discovered something amazing. During their approach to the Galactic Core, they could link their minds together without losing their individual personalities. Each person remained themselves, but they could share knowledge and experience instantly across vast distances. It was this ability that would win the war. The Void Lord's fleet of 10,000 ships waited at the center of the galaxy, arranged around a massive black structure that hurt to look at. The structure was feeding on the suffering of billions of enslaved beings, converting their pain into raw power. "Dimensional weapons detected," announced Navigator Inho. "Sosenton, the enemy fleet has technology similar to ours, but not identical," said Admiral Sun Hoan. "They learned to manipulate reality through causing pain. We learned through cooperation and growth. That difference matters." The battle began without warning. The Void Lord's ships opened fire with weapons that could tear holes in space itself. But the Taeguk's Fury was no longer in any single location. It existed everywhere and nowhere, phasing between dimensions faster than the enemy could track. "Counterstrike," Admiral Sun Ho An ordered. The humans didn't use traditional weapons. Instead, they reached out with their combined consciousness and touched the enemy ships directly. But instead of destroying them, they did something far more powerful. They healed them. The dark metal hulls turned silver. The painful symbols disappeared. The cybernetic beings inside found their organic parts growing back. The ships themselves became clean and bright, no longer tools of oppression but vehicles of hope. Impossible, screamed Overlord Kazon from his command ship. You cannot turn our own weapons against us. We're not turning them against you, Admiral Sun-Ho-An replied calmly. We're showing them what they could be instead. The battle spread across 17 star systems as both fleets phased in and out of normal space. To outside observers, it looked like stars were dancing and reality was breaking apart. Ships appeared and disappeared. Entire planets flickered between dimensions, but the humans had an advantage the Void Lords hadn't expected. Every being they had freed, every slave they had liberated, was connected to them through quantum entanglement. The gratitude and hope of billions of rescued souls gave the humans strength beyond anything the Void Lords could imagine. Sir, Commander Yeji-Moon reported, we're detecting massive system failures in the enemy fleet. Their dimensional weapons are destabilizing. Why? The weapons are powered by suffering, but we're eliminating suffering wherever we go. They're losing their energy source, it was true. As the humans freed more ships and more crews, the Void Lords' ability to maintain their dimensional attacks weakened. Their power had always depended on causing pain to others. Without that pain, they were just ordinary beings with stolen technology. All ships focus on the command structure, Admiral Sun-Ho-An ordered. End this. The Taeguk's fury and its transformed allies converged on the massive black structure at the center of the enemy formation. Up close, it was even more horrible than it had appeared from a distance. It was a machine designed to extract suffering on an industrial scale. Billions of beings are connected to that thing, said Ambassador Sora Kim, who had joined the bridge crew. If we destroy it wrong, we could kill them all. Then we don't destroy it, Admiral Sun-Ho-An said. We transform it. The humans reached out with their combined will and touched the torture machine. Instead of tearing it apart, they began changing its purpose. The devices that extracted pain became healing chambers. The systems that harvested fear became sources of comfort and hope. Overlord Kazan appeared on the main screen, his pale face twisted with rage. You think you can defeat us with kindness? We are beings of pure will. We have transcended physical limitations. So have we, Admiral Sun-Ho-An replied. But we chose a different path. Power is the only truth. The strong rule the weak. No, said a new voice. Elder Wonshik Park stepped forward. He was the oldest human on the ship, one of the few who remembered Earth before the war. Strength isn't about dominating others. It's about lifting them up, fool. We will show you what real power looks like. Overlord Kazan began to glow with dark energy. He was drawing on reserves of suffering harvested over centuries, preparing to unleash an attack that could destroy star systems. But then something unexpected happened. The cybernetic beings on his own ship began to change. Their organic parts, restored by human intervention, remembered what it felt like to be alive. They remembered emotions other than anger and fear. My lord, said one of his officers, its voice no longer mechanical but warm and alive. Perhaps there is another way, traitor. Kazan snarled, but his power was already fading. The network of suffering that had sustained him for so long was being healed faster than he could maintain it. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out. Beings who had been enslaved for generations suddenly found themselves free. Worlds that had been strip-mined began to heal as human technology restored their ecosystems. The galaxy that had been a prison became a garden. Sir? Navigator Inho Seo called out urgently. I'm detecting something at the edge of galactic space. Massive energy signatures approaching fast. More enemies? I don't think so. The signatures match architect technology, but they're much larger than anything we've seen. On the main screen, impossible shapes began to appear in the darkness between stars. The architects had left their dimension, but they weren't alone. With them came representatives of other ancient civilizations, being so old and powerful that they existed before the current universe began. Why are they here? Ambassador Sora Kim wondered. The answer came in the form of a communication that bypassed all technology and spoke directly to every conscious mind in the galaxy. The voice was ancient beyond measure, gentle but filled with cosmic authority. Children of the young galaxy, it said, you have passed the test. Test? Admiral Sun-Ho-An asked. Every civilization must choose between power that dominates and power that elevates. Most choose domination and destroy themselves. A few choose elevation and become worthy of joining the greater community. What greater community? The alliance of transcended civilizations that guides the development of new universes. We have been watching your species since you first looked up at the stars. Your time of exile was necessary. You needed to learn that true strength comes from within, not from conquering others. The ancient being paused, and Admiral Sun Ho-an could feel its approval radiating across space. The humans have proven themselves worthy. You may now take your place among the gardeners of reality. What does that mean? Commander Yeji Moon asked. It means your real journey is just beginning. This galaxy is now under your protection. Help the other species grow and develop. Guide them toward transcendence as you were guided. And when they are ready, welcome them to the greater community. The ancient beings began to fade back into dimensions beyond normal space. But their final message was clear. The universe is vast and full of wonders you cannot yet imagine, but it is also dangerous. Dark forces move between galaxies seeking to corrupt and destroy. You will face challenges that make your recent war seem small, but you will not face them alone. As the architects and their allies disappeared, Admiral Sun Ho-an looked around the bridge at his crew. They had started this journey as desperate refugees fleeing certain death. Now they were guardians of an entire galaxy. Sir, Navigator In Hoseo said quietly, I'm detecting signals from beyond the galactic rim. Something big is moving in the void between galaxies. Hostile, unknown. But based on the energy signatures, it's larger than anything we've ever seen. Whatever it is, it's heading this way. Admiral Sun Ho-an smiled. The war with the hegemony was over, but their real mission was just beginning. Humanity had become something new, something powerful enough to protect others and wise enough to use that power responsibly. Plot a course for the edge of the galaxy, he ordered. Let's go see what's out there. The Taeguk's Fury began moving toward the galactic rim, no longer just a warship but a mobile embassy for the new galactic commonwealth. Behind them, billions of freed beings began the long process of rebuilding their civilizations. But in the darkness between galaxies, ancient evils stirred. The real test of humanity's growth was about to begin. The humans had learned to transcend their limitations, but they had never forgotten who they were. They were explorers, protectors, and builders of hope. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The age of humanity had begun,